Moms for Liberty really worked miracles.
We have a crisis in America in public education. This is the future of our kids and our country.
You are joyful warriors.
And we are just getting started. Hello, welcome to the Fire Liberty Show. We are excited for episode 2 here, brought to you by Moms for Liberty. This is a show that we come to you once a week, bringing warriors from the front lines that are fighting for education, for their kids, and honestly, for the future of our country. This morning, we have Alex Bougher. I am so excited. She is our chapter chair in Bergen County, New Jersey. She arrived here in Florida last night. And let's start off with your text to me this morning. What did you see since you've been here?
Yeah, I was first of all, I love Florida. I am desperately trying to move here. I'm working on my husband with that. So if anybody talks to him, please, tell him to move down here. But we saw an alligator.
Welcome to Florida. Of course you saw an alligator.
Of course we did. We went we were working out in the gym, and then we said, you know what, it's gorgeous outside. Let's go for a walk. And we walked down the water, and we saw some fishermen down there. And we were like, oh, is there, what kind of fish, are you guys catching? And within like 2 seconds, this head pops up. And they're like, well, not a fish, but there's a gator for you. So that was really cool.
So I've lived here most of my entire life, and I have never seen a gator in the river. I know they're in the river, but I have never actually seen a gator in the river. So that is remarkable.
I proved it for you.
Yeah. Usually, like this morning, coming over the causeway, a couple dolphins, which is always a sign of good luck. So I think we're going to have a good show today.
Or sharks. I mean,
we don't have sharks. We have them out in the ocean, but not in the river.
Okay. What do you think?
All right. So just tell us a little about who you are, kids, family. What do you do in your day job when you're not an activist slaying the bad guys?
Yeah. So from New Jersey, North Jersey, literally I don't know, 2 seconds away.
Are you a Jersey girl? What's a Jersey girl?
I'm a Jersey girl. I mean, we just tell it like it is. And I think we're, pretty strong women, I think. And, we're listening to country, but, maybe some hip hop too. So we're a little all over the place. Right. But, I think the best description is we're just very like open and honest and really just tell it like it is. So we appreciate the Jersey, the Jersey girls. And I have 3 beautiful children. I have a 24-year-old who actually just landed in France. So I was like, did you land okay? Okay, great. I'm busy now. And an 11-year-old daughter as well. And then my son is 9. So they are just, my whole life. I love to be with them. Even right before we actually came down here, we were like, should we get plane tickets and just bring them? Like, but we were trying to figure out what to do with them. So we just love to have them with us at all times. And I'm an esthetician, so I love skincare. And we were talking before, I was doing a mask last night. I was like, I need to be glowing.
So backstory, I saw her on social media doing a mask. I think you put it on with the mask, like you did the mask. And I thought, oh, maybe I should do a mask. So I go open my my closet in the bathroom, and I've got these like 5 for $1 masks from Walgreens, and I was like, I need a mask too, so I'll glow. And anyways, it didn't go well. So
next time, just call me. I'll run down the road. Every esthetician's like, no, not those masks. But no, I mean, I just love it. I think just helping people, it's another way to help people. They don't know, they're confused about their skin and what can they do, what should they be eating, what they should be putting on. And it gives them confidence. I actually have a lot of teen clients, and that is just so huge for them because, and actually a lot of male teen clients, because, they want to feel good about themselves as well. And, they're my best listeners. I'll be like, don't eat dairy and, maybe not gluten and do these 3 steps. And I'll see them a month later and you see it, they feel so good about themselves. So, it's a very flexible job. It allows me to also fight for these kids in many other ways.
Yeah, be the activist that you are. And now we're going to dig in a little bit to that. So you are, I looked back this morning on our big spreadsheet of our 340 chapters, and you were really early on, I think April or May of 2021. You haven't even, a lot of chapters have switched leadership because, this is tiring, but nope, you're still holding strong as the chapter chair, Bergen County, New Jersey. Yeah. What what were those early meetings like? You decided you're going to start a Moms for Liberty chapter. And we're going to talk about your backstory of your why in just a minute. But those early meetings you were telling me about, I thought were really sweet and different than a lot of our chapter meetings. So what did those look like?
Yeah, so we would have them in parks. A lot of people, and I think we're all really over COVID, so I don't want to talk about it that much, but, it was during COVID and places weren't open, right? So maybe the supermarket, but the coffee place or, these places weren't open, and you'd also have to find a sitter. And I'm like, this is about the kids. So let's include the kids. So we would just have them in a park and, moms and dads would come actually. And that was interesting because I would hear in the beginning of a lot of people who were like, only the moms were coming, but we'd say, no, bring the whole family. And I thought that was really, really great because it is an entire family needs to be involved with this and the kids too. And it was great for the kids because then they would meet other like-minded kids, and because, some parents were a little shunned in the beginning for, maybe not masking or not really believing in everything that was going on. So there were kids that all of a sudden didn't have their play dates anymore, especially kids that didn't have siblings. Like my kids have each other. So they had, each other all the time. They were never lonely, but a lot of kids, they have friends that had nobody. So this gave them the opportunity to, really be with these kids. And we weren't doing it every month. We were doing it like every other week, actually, in the beginning, because there was so many questions. And instead of answering everybody separately via text or a phone call or whatever, I was like, let's just meet in the park again. And we would talk about it. So we had a lot of fun. We're all like really good friends with each other now.
So where do you meet now?
We still do parks now as well.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
We do have some other chapters that do that. Most are in restaurants or rental halls or facilities, but you're the park chapter.
I'm the park chapter. I like it. I think we get a lot more done that way also. Definitely once in a while, and there's a need be. We have some great patriot businesses in the area that let us use their restaurants or breweries, and that's really fun too. And you do have to work with all levels of government. So sometimes we're meeting different legislators there where as well. And then we leave the kids at home. So, it really depends on the situation, but we like the park.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And so you've been doing this now 4.5 years with
Yes.
with all of us. We've all
Yes.
been doing it 4.5 years. Why? Why do you do this? Why are you still in it?
Why am I still in it? Well, first of all, it's still happening. And the evil side never takes a day off.
What's still happening? Someone that's maybe not a member of Moms for Liberty says, what the heck are they fighting? What is happening?
What is happening? The
High level.
Complete indoctrination of our children, the complete grooming of our children, early sexualization of our children, you name it, they're trying to do it. And they're trying to do it in every way possible, whether it's through the TV, whether it's through the school, the books that they're reading. You have to vet every single thing that your child is seeing or doing or who they're around. And so we can never take a day off. And, for me, every child needs a voice, and these kids are little. I myself, did not really feel that I had someone advocate for me growing up. I had a little bit of a troubled childhood myself, and there was nobody there to stick up for me and say, hey, what's happening here is not okay. And somebody should step in and take her out of this situation. So for me, I'm going to make sure, if I can, with the help of everybody else, because we're a team, we're a family, that no child feels that way. So there are no days off and we can't stop. So we're just going to keep going.
I love that. And so I asked you to be on the show because of your school board wins and your legislative action, and you've been with us from the beginning. But then I asked, I got to know you a little bit better and said, fill out this form. Like, tell me a little bit more about yourself.
Forms.
Said I may not know. And I opened my email and I'm like, what in the world? I was floored. And it's a very serious actually topic, but I was blown away by what you've overcome, what you've been through. And I just want to dig into that a little bit, because I think it absolutely is what drives you now to stand up for all children. So let's touch a little bit about 13. Is that
13?
About what happened to you at 13?
So I grew up in a typical household in the suburbs, very, 80s and 90s. And, we kind of just did our own thing. We were out and about all day. Mine was a little different in that my parents had to really work a few jobs and were never home. And so I was really very independent and responsible, and kind of had a, rebellious streak as well, and didn't get along with my parents at all, pretty much at all. And didn't really feel that I should need to listen to them, because I'm like, well, I'm the parent at home and I take care of my brother. And, I would just come and go as I pleased. And so it wasn't a good home life, I guess you could say. Not awful compared to many others, but it just didn't work well for me. And so I wasn't home often, and it caused this kind of a big issue. And long story short, I ended up going to a boarding school in Maine.
What was the name of that boarding
It
school?
was called the Elan School.
I don't know if anyone watching right now has heard of the Elan School. I hadn't heard of it. I've heard of situations and stories like that,
Sure.
but as of today, I think I'm pretty well versed on it. The last couple of days I've been, I've been reading and just shocked by the things that went on there. So you want to tell us a little bit about your experience there?
Sure. So I was told I would be going there for a year, and I was like, awesome, I'm going to go hiking and, skiing and all these things that you see. And interestingly enough, the brochure that they would show people, because again, this was like kind of brochure time before,
there was no
1994,
website.
right? I think there was like maybe a beginning of a website, but it was brochures, and it would have these pictures of these kids smiling and having fun and doing all these activities. I'm like, this place looks awesome. And we got there, and we literally walked in this trailer in the middle of the woods, really far away from town, from any sort of civilization, really. And they said, okay, say goodbye to your parents and your brother. And I was like, what do you mean say goodbye? And they're like, oh no, they have to leave now. And I'm like, they're not going to come and see the school with me? And they said, nope, you're done. And 5 minutes later, 2 kids, like about my age, maybe, give or take, showed up, and they said, well, these are your support people, and they're going to take you to your house. And there was 3 houses there, Elan 7, Elan 3, and Elan 8. And, you walk down the road, you open this door, and there are like kid security guards everywhere. There's a kid at the front door, by the side door, in front of the kitchen, in front of the bathroom. And they're running this house, if you would, as if it's like a job, right? And you're told right away, or you're going to the bathroom and take all your clothes off. And I was like, why? And they're like, well, we delice everyone that comes in here. And I'm like, okay, can you leave? And they're like, no, you have to do it in front of us. So I'm 13 years old. I've never done this in front of anybody. I'm a child. And I don't even, at this point, you're not even getting undressed in front of your mom, right? Your body's gone through changes, and you're so insecure about yourself. And so you're forced to strip in front of these people and put this, chemical all over you, and then take this really fast cold shower. And then they bring you into this room, and they say, okay, you can't have your laces. You can't talk to anybody. You're not allowed to smile. Don't look at the front door, because we're going to think you're going to run away. And in many ways, it's really worse than prison, because at least in prison, you can make friends with people and smile with them and laugh. You can't do any of those things here. You're told that if you smile at somebody, you're trying to form a contract with them, or that you're, promiscuous because you smiled at a boy. Meanwhile, you're just trying to like feel better about the fact you're in this really unknown, and at this time feels so unsafe place. And even though at that point I felt like an independent person beforehand, all I wanted was my mom and my dad. Like, come back, get me. This is not for me. We're wrong. So that first day was really, really scary, and nobody really explains anything to you. And you're like, okay, maybe it'll be better the next day, but it's not. You go to school at night there, and it's a trailer down the road with, I don't know if they're teachers that got kicked out of other schools, but very subpar education. And you're asleep by 11, and up again doing it 6 a.m. the next morning. And they have what's called like night guards there, so you don't even sleep, because they flash a flashlight in your face every 15 minutes, and they yell to the front their head count. And you sleep 8 to a room, and it's just cold.
I'm trying to think of what their purpose is for some of these things. I mean, obviously abuse, but were you using drugs? Was this their way of making sure you like?
I mean, there's different houses there. Alon 7 was for the kids that, kind of like me, they didn't, I had never done a drug. I was not promiscuous at all whatsoever. Never smoked a cigarette, never had anything to drink. None of those things. I just didn't listen to my parents, which, listen, that can be dangerous too. You can put yourself in bad situations that you need a parent to be with you. And I was clearly learning that day. I needed somebody there to advocate for me. And but there were other houses where Alani was heavy drug use, promiscuous. Alon 3 was like more mental sort of issues. But Alon 7 was maybe either the wealthier kids or your state would pay for you. So most people stayed there a year. And then I found out that like us, we were going to be there till we were 18. So I found out pretty early on that I would be there a lot longer. And, you can't call your parents. You can't use the telephone. You have to write what's called the guilt letter in the beginning and admit all these things that you did. So I wrote like everything that I did. Well, I ran away this time and I lied about this and I snuck out the window. And they said, well, that's not it. That's not all you did to get here. And I said, no, that's literally all I did to get here. And I would write another one and it would be denied. And I could not talk to my parents. And I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to listen to what these other kids are doing. And I'm going to say that I did this too. And then maybe I could get my parents on the phone and they'll take me out of here. So I would listen to, we would have like a therapy groups, which were more like attack groups. And I would hear their stories and I would start to put these in my new guilt letters.
What do you mean attack groups? I think.
And it's so you were basically made to tell on each other every day. They would call it like accountability, but it'd be like, oh, Sally looked at Joe, and you would write it on a slip and drop it in a box, right? And then there was 2 types of groups. One, you would get called in to be dealt with that, and you would stand in front of 3 kids, and they would yell at you. So let's say you looked at a boy, you're a W word, you're promiscuous, like you're a
Other
slut.
kids were told to yell
at you.
This feels very much, I don't know. It feels like a book. It feels like what the Hunger Games, something like, I don't know, Hunger Games. It feels like a story that is not true.
Right.
It's hard to believe that a child or children have been placed in this situation.
It was definitely surreal. I had never seen anything like that in my life.
Breakdown of society all in one.
Well, they're breaking your mind down. And that's what they're doing. They're making you feel this big. They're calling you all these awful names every single day. There's never a day off there. Every single day you're dealt with. Every single day, if you're not listening to them, you're put in front of the house. And now they might have 50 kids yelling at you all at once. So you're just, they break you down. They break you down. They break you down. And then you start to realize, well, I'm not going to get out of here unless I truly believe in this program, or at least I pretend to believe in this program. And so for me, it was like, okay, I'm just going to go along with this because I got to get out of here. This place is awful. But, the guilt letter got accepted and I talked to my parents, but they listen to your phone calls. So the second you say this is happening, they'll say, oh, she's just manipulating you. Remember how she used to be? Yeah. And the parents believe it. And they say, oh yeah, you're right. Because again, you said it's like a story, like this can't really be happening. She has to be making this up. This is wild. On top of the fact that now you're getting A's in school. Right. And maybe you weren't going to school at all, or you were getting bad grades. So they would say to your parents, but look how well she's doing here. She's getting straight A's.
But not really learning anything.
But not learning a thing. Not to jump ahead, but when I went to college, I was like,
I don't know anything.
Help. I don't know what I'm doing.
Okay. So it's just one more thing about that period of time, the lowest moment, the lowest time while you were at that school.
I think when I probably about, well, there's too many. I don't even know what to pick. When I thought I was never going to leave at some point, I think it was about 3/4 of the way. And I was doing really well according to them. And I lost my job. So I lost my position and had to sit in the corner again. Or, you have to remember, there's not just emotional abuse, but there's physical abuse in this place. You could be tied in a corner in a room for days. They won't feed you. There was sexual abuse there as well. So to feel so good and like, okay, I'm almost there, and to like lose it all. And to be told, oh no, you're not going to graduate this year. It's going to be at least another year. That was too much.
And how long were you there?
4 years.
So you get out of there eventually.
Yeah.
Because you're 18 now. Was that?
Yeah, actually, I was a little past 18, believe it or not, because at that point I was in what they call reentry and went to finished high school a year early because I was such a great student and in community college. And I didn't want to go back home. I was so upset with my parents. Like, how could you leave me here? How could you never question
So they
this?
were successful in dividing your family even more.
They were successful in that. Yes. So I stayed. And actually, a lot of the people that graduate there become the therapists there. They're the ones that are, doing this to the next generation going through abuse. They're abusing them. Yeah. They themselves, it's that cycle, right? You can either choose to get out of that cycle and become a better person and help kids for it to never happen to them, or you can be the abuser yourself.
And so, Alex, you decided to get out of the cycle.
That's correct.
And I think it was important to share that story because I can't think of a stronger why, a stronger reason to be driven to protect children and to make sure society and structure and families stay together and as a whole. And that's the work we do at Moms for Liberty.
Definitely.
So you get out, you get married, you have a couple kids. How many? But you said you have
I have three kids.
3 kids.
Yeah.
You have 3 kids. At what point you went back and fought to get this school closed down? And weren't you part of that group that?
Yeah. It was
so this
really
is your
cool.
first experience with activism, really,
Yes.
is this? So.
Yes, this is my first experience. So the internet comes and, the kids from the school, I should say, came from all over. It wasn't just the United States. We had Dubai, we had Brazil, like everywhere. And so you really had no way of keeping in touch in 1998, right? But all of a sudden it's like 2002, it's 2003. And, I'm home with a 3-4-year-olds and we're starting to talk to each other on MySpace and Facebook, and, all these really cool platforms. And we're like, it was just surviving really at this point because we never dealt with really what happened to us, but you have to hold down a job. And some of us became parents, and you put yourself on the back burner and you just, survive. You just focus on these things. But then we started to talk to each other and we're like, we got to do something about this. We can't let other kids go through what we went through. We had talked in the past about maybe writing a book or like, what could we do? But, we had nobody was talking. We lost touch with one another. Once you graduate, you're done. So once we were able to do that, we said, well, how can we do this? And Elan at this point had a website. So we created an Elan Survivors website. And on it was, some of us actually had went back and did recordings. Like we pretended that we were these happy graduates. And we were like, oh, we came back to say hi. And during attack meetings, we would record them and you could hear the screams. So we uploaded that. We wrote our testimony. There was some pictures, whatever we could get out. There wasn't like these cell phones today. We would have done a much better job. It was today, we would have had all this footage. But one of the graduates was really techie and he was able to make it happen where when a parent went on the Elan official site, it directed them right to the survivor site.
Oh,
yes. Some people are really good at that. It is not me, but he got that done. And it was fantastic because people started pulling their kids out. And little by little, the states started to get involved and open their own investigations. Like, what is really happening in these schools? And also, why does it cost $50,000 for a student when, if you look at the school, where's the money going? Yeah. It's not going towards any of these things that they say it's going towards. And the people that are working there are, ex-graduates or, not real teachers, not real therapists. So they started to do that. And it was closed a few years later. It did take a little bit of time. It was mafia owned.
Oh, geez. Back to Jersey.
Yeah, back to Jersey. But yeah, so, it did take a few years, but eventually that was it. And then so happy that, okay, it took us a while, but we made it happen. And now we need to make it happen even more, where we spread the message that Elan wasn't the only school. A lot of schools were modeled after Elan, but it was not the only school. And there's so many more out there. And some kids are really getting hurt. Some kids are dying, not just, emotionally, they're physically dying from some of this abuse, or the sexual abuse is rampant because they know this parent's not involved. And the parent doesn't believe the child.
That's a very strong why for you.
Huge.
And very empowering when the school closed. I can't imagine the closure and the healing that happened. So congratulations
thank
on
you.
that one.
Thank you.
So I want to translate that whole story now into the work that you're doing with
Mhm.
Moms for Liberty and saving America
Yes.
and saving New Jersey, or at least half of Bergen County, I think, at this point. And so,
Yes.
but before we do that, we're going to take a break just for 1 minute to talk about our national summit. I think we've got a video to play.
Elena, what state are you from?
New York.
Hawaii.
I'm from Texas, Washington. I have my kids actually with me to do the march.
Wherever I go, odds are there is a Moms for Liberty group or a whole tribe in the room sounding off loud and proud.
And you could see the passion here because it's about supporting kids.
Pledge to each other that we will live like men and women who are determined to remain free.
I'm for parental rights all the way.
So that was a little information about our Summit 25. Alex, have you been to Summit?
Summit is my favorite.
Yeah. Summit is fantastic. And early bird tickets are on sale right now. You save $70, momsforliberty.org/summit25. We usually cap out at about 750 people due to size of the venues. This year, we have picked a much bigger venue, the Gaylord in Orlando.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. And you can even get day passes for Saturday right now. It's a great hotel to bring your family to.
Yep.
And so
Which we are.
Yeah. Oh, you're
Yes.
you're ready.
Yes.
You're ready.
Oh,
You're registered.
we talked to all the parents. We were like, guys, bring the kids. Big play date.
Yeah. Oh, big. That's a big in the park. You could have your own
Big in the
chapter
park.
meeting there.
And there's
Yeah.
gators there too.
There are, yes.
Yes.
Well, they're tiny, but there's
But
gators,
there's
in,
still gators.
in the hotel. So join us at the Gaylord October 16th through the 18th this year. Get your tickets now. All right, let's move on to your activism with Moms for Liberty.
Okay.
So early on, I remember creating the graphic because, we were like a 5-man show around here for a very long time.
Yes.
I remember creating the graphic for flipping an entire board in your county.
Yes.
How was that? Tell me about that.
Oh, it was very exciting. Again, most of us, this is not what we did, right? As professions, and we were learning all of this. I remember actually having to call somebody in town, a Board of Ed member, and be like, can you meet me for coffee and explain to me how the Board of Ed works?
Good for you.
Because I really had absolutely no idea. So we did. And all of a sudden now we're endorsing candidates for Board of Ed. And so it was super exciting. It was definitely a learning experience. You have to go with your mom gut, right? As anything, you can meet somebody and just say, maybe they're a great person, but maybe they're not the right fit for us, right? So it's definitely a learning process. But to flip an entire board was wonderful because now we knew that school was going to be that much better, that those kids were going to get the help that they need, that those parents were going to be involved and be listened to, because really that the Board of Ed controls everything that goes on in that school district, right?
Yeah, they set all the policy. And for those that don't know, we endorse in school board races across the country. We have a whole process. You have to be interviewed.
Yes.
You have to fill out the screener. The chapter endorsed you, and then the national organization. We have a PAC that actually will get involved. We didn't have that back when you did that.
I think my first year, no. And I definitely remember calling somebody at national and be like, I need help.
I'm
like, what do I do?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we had training, and that was incredible. That was really, really, really helpful.
Have you guys had a winning workshop there yet? That's our latest.
Had one. I think it was last year.
Yeah, that was probably the winning one. Wait, you came to the one in Pennsylvania we just did.
We
Weren't you there?
did.
Yeah.
We did. I thought there was one before, but I might be wrong.
Yeah.
We're busy.
Yeah, the winning workshop's remarkable. We have built
Yes.
at Moms for Liberty the only toolkit on how to run for school board that
Correct.
I know of. When I ran for school board in 2016, I Googled, how to be a school board member.
Right.
And there's nothing. Like,
There's
there
nothing.
was nothing out there. How to run for school board.
Right.
Can I hire somebody to help me run for school board? There's no
Right.
money in it because, there's these state house and congressional races where people can make, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars. But, a $20,000 school board race, you can't really pay anybody to run it. So there's
Right.
there's
But that's
nothing
not
in
why
it.
we
So-
get into it. You know
no,
what I mean?
but because of that, the system didn't work and it didn't
Right.
provide, there was nothing there to help you know how to run for
Sure.
school board.
Sure.
And so we've created that, and it's all free. If you
Yes.
just become a member of Moms for Liberty, which is also free, you can
Yes.
download it on our website. And, I just think it's important for any parent to know
Yeah.
they can run for school board. Like,
Sure.
the school boards don't have to be controlled by teachers unions. That
Right.
they shouldn't be controlled by
They
teachers
shouldn't
unions.
be.
So good for you, flipping a school board out the gate. Big win for your chapter. And so let's fast forward a little bit now to you start getting involved in legislative issues and this
Policy 5756.
Tell us about Policy 5756.
Okay.
What is it?
Okay.
And what have you been doing with it?
Okay.
Tell us about the day at the Capitol you guys had and more.
So we actually had a legislative team before we were an official legislative team.
We have an official program now.
We have an official program. But again, we learned early on to get anything done, you have to have relationships with everyone on every level of government, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, well, how do we get this passed? Okay, you need to talk to this person. Well, what does that person do? And actually, before we even knew about 5756, we threw a huge legislative day in Hackensack in New Jersey, and we just invited everybody, both sides, everybody. Please come in, explain who you are, what you do, what your position does. And it was awesome. And we were learning too. And so we created these really awesome relationships with the legislators that wanted to help us. And we're like, this is, outrageous. We need to help you. How can we work together? So we found out about Policy 5756, which is a policy of secret and lies. And it's
I like that. That's a good name for it.
Secret. Well, that's what we call it.
Oh, okay. That's a good
what
name.
we call
It needs a logo or something.
We usually start. So we go to Board of Ed meetings. I can't even tell you how many times a week we go to Board of Ed meetings. And that's how we open with it, because that's what it is. And so let's say a child, a male child goes to school, and now he all of a sudden wants to change his gender identity at school, right? He wants to be a girl. His name is Sally. The teachers and the teaching staff are not allowed to tell the parents. This is not their decision. They are not allowed to tell the parents anything.
It puts teachers in a bad spot too. I mean,
Horrible.
these policies are all across the country. They were here in Florida till Governor DeSantis took care of that business. But you don't have Governor DeSantis
borrow
in
him?
New Jersey.
I need it for like a month.
Yeah. And so they're everywhere. They're dealing
Yeah.
with it in Colorado
Yeah.
right now. But New Jersey is one of the worst offenders because the state Board of Ed has put this policy in place.
Correct.
I was reading about it last night. They say it's optional.
It is optional. It is not a law. You do not have to have it. New Jersey has its own discriminatory law. So some schools will come back and say that and say, no, New Jersey already has a discriminatory law, an actual law. You do not have to have this policy. And so we've gotten 42 schools in the state to repeal 5756, but
42 schools in the state or in your county?
42
school districts.
42 school districts in the state.
Okay.
We help with the whole state. So like all of our numbers sometimes are like state, but I would have to actually get the exact numbers, but there's many in our 72 school district county that have gotten rid of it. And
So I want to make
Bergen's the
sure everybody
toughest.
heard that, because in
Yes.
Florida, we have one school district per county. So
Okay.
we have 67 counties. We have 67 school districts. It's very neatly, tightly
Yes.
organized. You can't, but not New Jersey. New
No,
Jersey
a lot.
they say they're hyper focused on making sure education is the most local. That was their reasoning when I was doing
Right,
my research,
right.
which I can respect that. I really
We
think
actually
it's-
love that.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Except you are a chapter chair over the whole county. That's how we're structured, which is
Right.
Bergen County.
Right.
And you have 72 school districts alone.
Yes.
That's 72 Board of Education meetings that you
Right.
should be either
But-
attending or having
Right.
people in your chapter.
But thankfully
attend.
we're a large chapter
Yeah.
and everybody's very helpful. And I was saying this story recently. We took a bus down to one of the southern counties and helped them flip.
Took a bus.
We took a
Like,
bus.
Somebody had a bus. You rented a bus.
One of the dads rented a bus, and we just went down there, and it was awesome.
Went to their board meeting.
And all had our Moms for Liberty shirts on, and yeah, it was
And
awesome. We were a force.
So I'm just going to say,
Yeah.
like, I was a school board member,
Yeah.
and people were bussed in all the time for school board meetings
Yes.
when there were hot topics.
Yeah.
And it was so frustrating. It's like, you're not even from here. But I'm so thankful that we can copy their playbook now, and that you
Yes.
guys are doing what they did. It's
Yes.
effective to have
It
several
is.
hundred people at a school board
It
meeting.
is.
And put the pressure on to
Correct.
vote the correct way.
Even if you're not all speaking, just to have that support there
Mhm.
means so much. And it's true, they do it. So why shouldn't we do it? And, that's the thing. A lot of parents, sometimes they're a little scared, or they feel, a little apprehensive. And, I'll say, listen, I can't do this for you, but I will educate you so that you feel empowered to do it yourself. And I will stand right next to you if you want. I'll hold your hand, like whatever it takes, but you have to do it, because this is not going to be the only fight. There's going to be, again, they never take a day off. So there's always going to be another fight. There's always going to be something that we have to protect our children from. So you have to learn to do this on your own, right? And then empower the next parent.
If I can just say something,
Mm-hmm.
Our values at Moms for Liberty are to speak truth, build relationships, and empower others. And
Mm-hmm.
as we're going through this interview, you've been an advocate for truth from, the time you got out of that horrible school.
Yep.
You have talked about building relationships with all levels of government, which
Mm-hmm.
is Moms for Liberty's core. And now you're focusing on. I'm so proud of you.
Thank
Alex.
you.
Like, really, you are.
Thank
You're a great representative of Moms
Thank
for
you.
Liberty. And
Well, I'm very
you
proud.
are a warrior. You're empowering others to stand. And I think that's one of the most important things that we do. So
Yes.
thank you for
very
doing
much.
that. Okay. So you take the bus down, you're helping
Yeah.
chapters, you're helping
Yeah.
people all around the state. We talked briefly the other day about an instance where you guys, I think, were at the state capitol bringing in
Yes.
the posters. Can
Oh,
you
gosh.
share that with us a little bit?
Yes.
Because it's all levels of government. And this
Yeah.
one, I think, was at the state capitol.
It was.
Yeah.
So we have this now we have the bill, but at the time it was going through the assembly, called the Freedom to Read bill. And it sounds like this
You
great.
should be able to read whatever you
Right.
want.
I'm a voracious reader. I love to read. And, of course, this is what they do. They love to trick people. But if you actually look at the bill, basically what it's doing is it's allowing sexually inappropriate material in schools. And not only is it doing that, but it's protecting the teachers and the librarians from any legal recourse from it. So it's basically saying, here, show porn to kids and you're not allowed to get in trouble. Interestingly enough, we had a huge call to action that week where we said it was 27 pages originally. And in it, they actually wanted, if a parent complained, that you would have to pay for the legal fees for that librarian or teacher. I mean, it was the bill was so egregious. It was just wild. So many people emailed and called that they actually cut it down that night to 8 pages, and they got rid of that part and things like that. They knew this thing was not going to pass. It was so bad. So we decide, okay, we need to end this right now. So we pick 4 of the worst books that we have, and there's 17 in New Jersey. We call on the dirty list.
Okay.
Most schools, if you look at their online library, have 2 to 4, let's say, but they usually at least have that. And we blew them up into these huge posters. And we were like, well, who's going to blow this up? Because kids work at the Staples printing counter. And I can't show this to kids, So that was
But it's in the public school down the street.
But it's in the public school down the street. So that's all right. But, one of our co-chairs in Morris knew somebody that was able to do it. So we got it done, and we walked in with we put trash bags on them in case kids were outside for the walk-in. And we get there and we take them out and we put them in front of us. And within, I don't even know, 5 minutes, one of the police that are, they're always in there, come and they say, ma'am, you have to remove these. They're inappropriate. We're being told they're inappropriate. And I looked at him. I'm like, you're right. They are inappropriate. You are correct. I'm not going to argue with you, but they need to be here. They're part of our testimony. And he said, well, what is it? So, we had them facing the assembly. So I turned it around for him and he said, what is this?
And what was it? I don't know how much we can say without getting
Yeah,
blocked on all our YouTube
I
channels.
can't
Maybe you
say-
can allude to it.
Right. Let's just say it was a sexual position. But the book was rated for 8 years old and up. And it was actually illustrated as well. So not just verbally what was happening, but it was illustrated what was happening. And he was just completely taken back. He said, "What is this?" And I said, "This is a book in the New Jersey schools." And I said, "Actually, this is one of the most popular books that they take." And he said, "You're telling me that in my kid's school, this is in there?" I said, "Yeah, and some of these, and there's more." And so he goes, "Hold on one second.
Let me show you this one and this one.
Yeah.
And,
Hold
and
on,
here's,
how
here's
much-
some of this.
Yeah, how much time do you have? Let me get my phone out." So he went and talked to the other cops that were there. There was about 3 or 4 because there was like hundreds of us in that room. They actually had a spillover room. So many people came. And he then talked to the assembly and he came back and he goes, "You're allowed to keep it. We don't want it in our kids' schools either."
Any sane person, really.
Any sane person. And word had spread because even though it had passed the assembly that day, when we left, the cops downstairs by the metal detectors were like, "Did it pass? Like, what's going on?" Like, they all knew. I'm like, "It passed. Spread the word." So nobody wants this stuff in the schools. You want it at home. It's not our job to tell you what to do with your kid at home. For whatever reason you want to do that, fine. It's available on Amazon. It's available at the bookstores.
Public library down the street
Public,
if you want to take a
public
walk.
library, but it does not belong in public schools. It's completely inappropriate.
Yeah.
End of story. There's like no argument there, period.
So what's the status now is there opt-out policies? Is there opt-in policies? Or is it just all welcome? And if your kids get it, if they go to public school, no matter what?
I mean, there's no, I know some people are working on like a rating system for, like by age, but they're rated for that age.
Yeah.
So we would go to the 8-year-olds. I mean, it's just completely inappropriate. So that's something that we are working on. We have a governor election this year. We're hoping we get, you can't, wait on that. We have to keep fighting, but hopefully we'll get a better one in there who just nixes that bill right away. But right now they're in the schools. So we just have to keep fighting school to school, going to, appealing to the parents. Guys, we had a parent who actually complained that we were banning books, which, guys, we don't ban books. They're on Amazon or the bookstore or whatever. We just remove inappropriate ones. And he made this big post on the town Facebook page about it. And then I uploaded pictures and I knew I was going to be in Facebook jail for this because they're inappropriate. But I said, "Guys, who wants to take bets if I'm in Facebook jail by the end of the day?" And sure enough, I was, because it is inappropriate. And what's wild is Facebook is an adult platform.
Mm-hmm.
I know older kids are on there, but it's an adult platform.
It's not for 8-year-olds.
It's not for 8-year-olds. And yet here, they're saying this is inappropriate. And he had no idea those books were in the schools. He goes, I didn't know that they
People
were
don't.
there.
When the left was very smart at labeling us and other organizations and conservative groups as book banners or book burners, and they've got all kinds of memes and things out there of us roasting books and such, which is just so absurd.
Right.
But when we started carrying the books around with us when we were on 60 Minutes, we just opened them for Scott Pelley and showed the team. And at first they're like. And when we were on Quiz Como, that was one of the best ones. I just opened it up. It's for 4-year-olds. And I just started reading about the details of the sex acts, moving in and out, warm, moist, all of these things, 4-year-olds. And so, Chris Cuomo, they zoomed in on his face and he was like,
"You can't hide it.
You can't hide it.
Poker face, you can't."
So you've got 17 books, you say, in New Jersey that you've put on a dirty list. And then you're working on this policy, trying to get it out of the, what'd you call it? The secret and lies
policy of secret and lies. Yes. Well, we've got it out of 42 school districts. The great thing is once it's kind of a, it's like a double policy, if you would, because it also allows boys in the girls' locker rooms and sports. So once you tell that to a parent on the board of ed, that usually they're like, "Wait a minute, what?"
Yeah.
And that sort of, because most of them have a daughter, and so that sort of is what people are like, "Well, that's why?" First of all, you should never be hiding anything from a parent. We should be involved in every step. Those are our kids. That's our God-given right? But we also have to protect our children. And boys do not belong in girls' locker rooms or in their sport teams hurting them. I mean, and now we have President Trump who said it. So listen.
So at Moms for Liberty, we call ourselves Joyful Warriors,
Yes.
as you know.
Yes.
We have the hat and the shirt and all the things, and we just keep
I
saying
love
we're
it.
Joyful Warriors. Quick side story, when we had our legislative days here in Florida, I think 2 years ago, a couple of the moms were there. Well, a ton of us were there, but
Right.
a couple were trapped in the corner. I think Antifa was kind of
Oh.
had surrounded them and chanting and cheering and yelling things. And they got locked out of the room where the security guards were behind the door, and the security had shut the door,
Oh.
but 2 or 3 of our moms got stuck outside with Antifa, and they were starting to close in on them, and they were like, let us in, let us in. And they're like, they're coming after us, let us in. And one of them got shoved, and she said in her mind, she just kept hearing, be a joyful warrior, be a joyful warrior, be a joyful, because your defense mechanisms come in at that point.
Right.
And so we work really hard to keep the high ground at
That's
Moms for
correct.
Liberty. And the one thing that even in this interview, anybody that's watching, like you're joyful, all that you've gone through and you've been through, you just laugh, you smile, you keep moving forward. But I'm sure there's been some attacks. And, we haven't dug into those, and I don't know that we'll spend a lot of time, but there's one that's happened recently. Even that you've called a gentle
Kid gloves.
Okay. And so, share with the people that are watching right now what has happened to you and your family recently.
Sure. Well, we recently, what we like to call a gentle swatting. But
Which
and
is actually a very serious
it's very
thing.
serious. It's very serious. Again,
For those that don't know,
Right.
because I'm on X, and so conservative leaders all across the country are being swatted, and it's very dangerous. Somebody will call in anonymously and say somebody's suicidal in the home, somebody's holding people back at gunpoint in the home, and that calls in the SWAT team. I mean, they could break down the door, they could come in. None of that is actually happening, but somebody could get killed in those situations. And so, when did this happen?
This happened actually the day before vacation. So it was
We don't know.
three weeks
know
ago.
when your vacation
Sorry.
was.
Sorry. It was 3 weeks ago. We actually had just come back from another event, and I ran to get the kids from school and then take them to the barbershop, right? Fresh cuts for vacation. And my husband was home. We had suitcases open everywhere, trying to put, everything for Florida. And somebody had called in on the anonymous line that my kids we've heard two versions, but that they were running around with guns, or that they had access to guns.
So they're running around with guns. And where are your kids right now? At the barbershop.
At the barbershop.
Yeah.
Right. They
So-
weren't even home. And I mean, listen, everybody that knows us knows that we are registered proud gun owners. It is actually, there's a sign in front of my home. And they are in biometric safes, and the only people that can get them are my husband and I with our fingerprints, and our children do not have access to them. We do teach them about gun safety. They've been to the gun range. I mean, I think that's very important. This is our right as an American citizen. And I do think it's important, especially as they get older, to be able to defend themselves and their homes if they choose to. So this is,
But
part of our home.
called in to harm your
But
family.
they did it on purpose. I mean, at this point, we've gotten called all kinds of names online. We've gotten some hate mail. There's been that, but this was really escalating at this point. And, I call it a gentle swatting because everybody knows us in town. They know what kind of people we are, and they know our children are not running around with guns.
But they have to respond to the
But they
call.
have to respond to the call. And so we had a few officers at the home, and we actually, myself and the kids, pulled up right as they were sort of leaving. And, my kid said, "Mom, what's going on? Like, is that at our house?" And I was like, that's not our house. I was still driving down the road. And then I realized it was our house. And I pulled up and I'm like, "Is everything all right?"
Yeah, did you see, what were you thinking? Something happened to my husband?
I'm
Like,
thinking,
what?
I don't even know what I'm thinking at this point. Yeah, something happened. Something bad happened. My first thought was it wasn't our house, because that's not us. But then it was like, oh gosh, for 5 cars. And we know a lot of the officers, like, something happened here. And they said, no, everything's, okay. At this point, everything, they had already been in the house. Everything was calmed down. They were literally about to get in their cars and leave. And they told me what happened. And, it's one thing to come after me, it's a whole nother thing to come after my children.
Yeah, they don't even know what they did by
No,
doing
they
that.
have no idea. And we're working with the FBI, so we'll find out who did it.
Yeah, this swatting stuff has to stop.
It has to
It's going to
stop.
end terribly. And I hear that some of those in the our new FBI director and some of those in the Trump administration are all over it.
They are all over it.
It's really terrible. I would say
Yes.
that's, a lot of moms and Moms for Liberty have been attacked in terrible ways, lawsuits, made up lies, of course, doxed, lost jobs, all types of things. But this is, to me, a new low. And so I'm terribly sorry that that's happened to you. Is that going to slow you down or stop you? Are you going to quit because you've been intimidated by whoever made that call?
We're fired up,
Yeah.
Listen, it was a quick call in, like, hey, I need to report this, and then we got on the road for vacation and went on with our lives, and next, that's it. Good will always win over evil, and we will just keep going. And again, it's one thing to mess with us, it's another thing to mess with our children. So this is just going to make us stronger and more resilient. And the one thing that I love is everybody's a team. The amount of phone calls I got, what can we do? What do you need? Everybody supports each other. I didn't actually post about it since at the time it was, an ongoing investigation, but we did tell a few people here and there, like, hey, just be careful. This just happened to me. They might go to you next. Like, you just never know. We wanted to warn them. And the support has been just like unbelievable.
I'm so thankful that you have built a community that you have respect and you have the trust of each other, because during these times of difficulties, I think it's vital. And so I'm glad Moms for Liberty could play just a little bit a part in that.
It's a huge support system. Huge.
So future casting, what do you have coming up there in New Jersey and in Bergen County? You said you have a governor's race.
We do. We have a governor's race. We have some great candidates that are.
You have school board races this year?
We have school board races this year. We have.
And what do you need help with?
Gosh, we need help with everything. I need, I just need everyone to actually step up. And I think I know it can be intimidating, and you're like, well, this is not what I do for a living. This is not what I do for a living.
Yeah, nobody runs for school board for a living. No one runs school board. We just talked about that. You can't make a living helping school board candidates.
And try it, give it a shot. Like, we're there to help you. We're starting our days early on Zoom calls and coffee meetings and ending them late, doing the same things. And, somebody helped us in the beginning and taught us, and now we're giving it back and teaching others. So I would say the biggest thing that we need is just for everybody to be involved in some way or another, school board, town council, like everything, any way that you can be involved, because it does take all these different levels to accomplish these big goals.
Yeah, people behind the scenes, the spreadsheet keepers, like you need those. You need the faces on media. Like you need a wide variety of skills and skill sets to be successful.
Yeah.
And so I say, if you're in New Jersey, reach out to you. Obviously, hopefully, at least in the comments of where this is showing today. We'll have how to get in touch with you. Awesome. Obviously, you can reach out to momsforliberty.org if you're somewhere else in the country, and we'll connect you with one of our over 300 chapters, or you can start a chapter on our website. You can join the organization on our website. And so what else? You have all these races coming up, governor's race, school board races this year. You're working on the policy getting
that removed. Yeah. Our goal is to get it out of every single school.
You told me about some other things that you've done prom dress things.
With other organizations.
You guys have done some fun things.
We do. We ask the community what they need help with. So there was prom dresses or tuxes, or we would find, maybe some salons that would offer their services to help out. Mm-hmm. So that's a really great way to know the community, and they get to know you, because, Moms for Liberty is like, what is that? Unless you are involved or you're in a chapter or you know us, you may not know what that is. So it's a great way to get out in the community and say, well, we're just people like you, moms and dads like you, and we want to help all these kids. I have an older one. I went through prom. I remember thinking, I took her shopping and I thought, oh, I'm going to get a dress for like $150, right? What?
I don't have daughters.
Okay.
So
no, it's like you know what?
You couldn't get a dress for $100. Really?
Back then, so she's 24 now, believe it or not. Now you can go online, you can find stuff. Back then, especially in our area, it's a little bit more expensive. And I was like, what the? So now it got you thinking, like, there's all these kids, nobody can afford this, and I want them to feel awesome on that day.
Back to
Confident.
your childhood, I would say. Like that probably is where you're pulling from. Like,
Yeah. You want to feel good. I definitely remember being the kid that, like, maybe didn't have lunch at school or didn't have what I needed, or mom didn't sign me up for that field trip, always unprepared, right? So my kids are probably always over prepared,
of course,
but it stems from that.
Overcompensating.
I do. And my husband's like, calm down. I'm like, no, they have to be prepared. But it comes from that. Like, I never want them to feel sad or that they weren't thought of. And every child should feel that way.
And so that's why you do what you do.
Yeah.
So let's just wrap this up and end on about joy, because we titled this episode The Weapon of Joy, because when I look at you and I look at your story and how you react and respond to things, I think you are a joyful warrior. And so what are your thoughts about that, about joy and carrying that through and how that's gotten you through?
I think every day we have a choice, we have a decision to make. And is it going to be a great day, right? Or am I going to cave into maybe how I'm feeling or what's happening around me? And every day, if someone smiles at me, it makes me smile, right?
Yeah.
It's just contagious. So I think if we're just put on a brave face, smile, and just make that decision to have this wonderful day, this beautiful day, you will. And then you'll probably make somebody else have one too. So, I just say joy over everything, joy over fear, joy over, uncertainty, joy over, just be joyful.
I love that. And that's how we're going to wrap up today. Thank you so much for coming all the way to Florida and experiencing the Gators. And hopefully you'll see a couple dolphins before you leave. And then just to close, I want everyone to find us on Apple. We are on everything now. This is week 2.
Everything.
We're now on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify. We're live on X and Facebook and YouTube and you name it. Go sign up for all of them because we want to watch our numbers grow. Go subscribe, download. Watch and listen. And we're excited about who's coming up next week. And so I can't wait for you guys to meet her. And thank you. Thank you for joining us at the Fire of Liberty show, the Fire of Liberty show. And thank you for supporting Moms for Liberty. And you can find us at momsforliberty.org.